thinking of becoming an airline captain, either as a career, or are you considering upgrading to captain if you're already at an airline? Well, this episode's for you. I'm going to explore both the pros and cons of being an airline captain, and we're going to focus on like financial compensation and the challenges and stresses of becoming a captain and having all that responsibility. Hopefully this video will help you determine if the high pay is truly worth it to become an airline captain, whether thinking about this as a career or if you're thinking about upgrading. So let's get started. First of all, let's talk about the pay. Salary ranges for airline captains at the major airlines are anywhere between $300,000 to $450,000. And a few of the top earners, of course, like I said, can make up to seven figures. That's not normal, but you can at least make double that if you really work hard, if that's worth it for you. We'll talk a little bit about that going on. Airline captain pay actually is one of those high-paying professionals. So if you're thinking about this and comparing it to some of the other professional jobs out there, I like to use the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And pilots, airline pilots in general, they make about $226,600 as an airline pilot. That's the median pay. As far as doctors are concerned, they're going to make a little bit more, about $239,200 for doctors. Lawyers, to compare to another high-paying job, is $151,000. And aerospace engineers, keeping within the same industry, they make about $134,000. So you're up there with the doctors and the lawyers out there, and sometimes you can make more than those people depending on what job you get into and also how much you work. But remember, with the pay, one of the things that you have to remember, it's all based on years of service and also position, such as becoming a captain. And if you remember, a lot of people say it's all about seniority. Yes, that's true. You want to get to a position as quickly as you can, but don't forego the fun factor. Enjoy the ride on the way there. So that's all the pay. So that's the pay. Is it worth it? I think so. I didn't go into all the different things as far as retirement and that type of thing. You can look at one of my other videos where I talk about should you become a pilot in 2025, where I do a deep dive into the pay, and also the other video I did that about pilots that make $1 million a year. Just talk a little bit about how they do that. I'm more of a lifestyle person, so I am a captain at a major airline, and I'm also an instructor at a major airline. I enjoy it, and I love the people I work with. So I'm going to interject some of the things in this conversation as far as what I like about it. So let's move on to the lifestyle, the flying lifestyle. So your work schedules of an airline captain include very irregular hours a lot of times and long shifts, if you're used to shift work. So if you're going to go into work, you might be there for 12 hours and you're going to have frequent overnight stays. Most airlines, you're going to go and stay overnight. And, there are times when you can get jobs where you may be able to do what's called out and backs or turns, where you go into work, you go to a city and you come back home, you're home every night. Usually that's reserved to some of the more senior pilots or for those airlines that specialize in that type of flying, and they're out there. So that's really important. The other thing too is, the other big challenge is from being away from home for long periods of time is that impact on your personal relationships and your personal lifestyle. You're on the road, something breaks. If your family member or whomever back home doesn't know how to fix it or doesn't have experience with that, you may have a challenge. So you want to set up all those things before you head out the door. Make sure that you are able to, have something in place like a plumber or an electrician so that if things do break, you can get those fixed. Also, as far as the relationships are concerned, that can be a real challenge, especially if you haven't communicated this lifestyle with your partner. Remember, when you're away, you're away. When you're home, you're home. So you're home for long periods of time. A lot of people wind up having hobbies, but also remember that you're going to be away for a while. So if you don't have that level of understanding and trust with your partner, that's something you need to work on in that relationship. It doesn't really matter that you're away so much. As a matter of fact, interestingly enough, I know salespeople that are away longer than I am, and they're out on the road more than I am. So that can actually be true in a lot of other jobs out there. But just remember, that's part of the job. So that's a challenge, being away from home for long periods of time. Also, it's also somewhat physically demanding and mentally demanding. You have to deal with pressure and fatigue, working long hours. You're also responsible for all the passenger safety. I know, a lot of people will say, well, I don't really worry about their safety. I worry about my safety. And that's true, but you still have to think about the passengers, especially say you're flying over the water. One of the biggest risks is if someone gets sick and you're an hour, 2, 3 hours away from the nearest airport. Those are the kind of things you have to think about. Also, if someone gets sick, you have to make that decision. Do you need to go to this point A or that point B or turn back? You have to make all those decisions. That's part of being a captain. So if you're thinking of upgrading to captain, just remember you will be doing that. Also, another big part of that stress is the fact that when you are captain, you're now going to be the one that's going to get the calls on your days off. We talk about that you don't get calls on your days off usually. Well, the time you do get a call is usually when something has happened. Company will follow up, the union will follow up, whoever it may be. They'll want to know why this happened, especially if it was a major event, like an injury or something like that, or an emergency declaration, that kind of thing. So there are those demands there. As far as other things, actually flying, navigating the skies, as we say, there's a few things that are involved with that. And a big part is extensive training and licensing requirements of becoming an airline captain, including flight hour certifications and ongoing certifications and ongoing education. You have to do recurrent training all the time. So if you don't like to constantly be challenged and quizzed, etc., you're probably not going to like being an airline captain. Now, this is true both of captains and first officers and any other crew members. You're constantly going through training. But the requirements to become a pilot, that could take you anywhere to get to the captain level at a major airlines, 5 to 10 years from going and starting your training, becoming a pilot, becoming, say, a flight instructor to build hours, going to a regional, et cetera, and then finally getting to become an airline captain at a major airline. So that's a lot of training, a lot of licensing, a lot of flight hours before you get to that ultimate job. And you have to say to yourself, is it worth it? Personally, I think it is. I really enjoy being a captain. It's a lot of fun. You also get to set the pace, so that's really cool. The other thing, too, is that you have certain physical standards and mental health standards that you have to comply with, and you have to go and get regular certification from the FAA. And this can actually increase as you get older. For me, for instance, I have to see the doctor every 6 months, an FAA examiner, every 6 months, and get a new certificate every 6 months because of the fact that I'm a captain. Plus, I have to go through, EKGs and that kind of thing. So that's something that I have to do. It's an expense out of your pocket. It's also, a little bit of a risk. Say something happened and you didn't notice it. Maybe you have higher blood pressure. You have AFib or something that wasn't noticed until you got to the medical. So now you have this medical condition you didn't know about. So there's two things. You have to get the medical condition fixed because that's important for your life. But also now you have to deal with getting your medical back. And that could take, quite some time depending on what the situation is. Things like heart or cancers and things like that, that could take, years to get your medical back. So remember those physical standards you have to upkeep. And just on the other side of that, just to make you feel a little bit more comfortable, most major airlines have really good insurance as far as medical insurance in case you do lose your license or your pilot certificate because of your medical. You can actually get paid disability until you're able to get that medical back or until you retire. And that's another thing. Mandatory retirement is at 65 right now at the airlines. So that's something to think about. You might want to think about going on to, if you're later in life, going on to, corporate or something like a 135, air taxi, that kind of thing. So again, you're going to have to go through these medical evaluations. It's also a very competitive industry. It's the nature of things here. Getting a job, finding a job is very competitive. I know that recently, this is 2025, we went through a period where it was very easy to get a job compared to in the past, and that's changed. And even then, it's still competitive. You have to get through all your ratings, and you have to apply. You have to go to interviews. I know there was a time period where they were just hiring people sight unseen. Hey, we need people so bad, we're going to hire anybody. That's not true anymore. So that's true. That's very competitive, the nature of the industry and the people that are in the industry. Remember, you're working with a lot of people, especially the retired military, retired pilots from the military. They can be very competitive. So that's kind of what you're going to be seeing there as far as becoming an airline captain. So just think about that. Also, there's a high cost associated. We talked about training, right? Of actually getting to that left seat in a major airline. And that's one of the reasons we actually started that scholarships guide that we have to help people pay for their ratings. As a matter of fact, the sponsor of this podcast, Stratus Financial, they are giving away some scholarships guides. And you can get one for free. So let's take a look at how you can get one for free. Visit our sponsor, Stratus Financial, where dreams take flight. Stratus Financial offers loans for pilot training, and they understand your needs because they're pilots. You can find out more at stratus.finance. Whether you're financing your dream of flying or simplifying the process by taking care of your student loans, their efficient, hassle-free funding can connect you to the life of your dreams of becoming a professional pilot sooner than you ever thought possible. Visit them at stratus.finance. As a sponsor of this podcast, Stratus Financial is giving away scholarships guides, and you can get yours for free by using the coupon code STRATUS. Visit aviationcareerspodcast.com/free and use that coupon code STRATUS. Again, and please visit our sponsor, stratus.finance. So not only do you need to get money to pay for those ratings, you also are going to have to forego some pay later on because of the fact that when you start out in the industry, like other industries, you're not going to get paid very much. Think about this. You're paying like anywhere from $60,000 to $100,000 or more in your training. And now you're going to go into a job that's only making $25,000, $50,000, as a flight instructor, and then you're going to get on with a regional. But it changes as you go along, and the more certification you get, also the more hours you get, it actually becomes better. And they don't start you at super low pay. It does start at low, but once you get that experience, you're going to actually start making money later on in your career. Give yourself at the low 3 years, usually about 5 years to get to your destination, 10 years to get to that ultimate goal of becoming an airline pilot, or airline captain. And that's the other thing too, is that while you're during this journey, that's where you have to keep yourself motivated. That's one of the reasons we started that career coaching, both the individual and that group mentorship program that we have, is that we wanted people to be able to inspire each other, but do in a very cost-effective way. And it's 2025. It's only $20 a month. Also, I talked about the competitive nature. Right now it's very competitive in interviews. So one of the things that I've done is I took that pilot interview course that I've been putting together and I put it into the mentorship program. So not only do you get those updates twice a month, we get together online, you also get that pilot interview course, which keeps growing and growing and growing. We go over things like stars, we go over weather, we go over aerodynamics, those type of things, but geared more towards the interview, You can check that out, aviationcareerspodcast.com/coaching. And if you want a month free when you sign up, you can do that using the coupon code COACHITFORWARD for our mentorship program. So go check that out. So let's talk a little bit about the other side of being a captain, some of the cons of being a captain. A little bit I talked about, but one of the things that can get to some people, it all depends on your view in life, is a big potential for burnout and stress associated with it. It's a very demanding job. It also can impact us both mentally and physically. I have that issue with, trying to get out there and exercise enough. So I've kind of made that a big important part of my life now, just trying to get out there and do more exercise. So that's part of it. It's physically demanding in that you're getting up, you're going places, you're walking around outside. It's 3 a.m, it's 20 below, it's snowing, and you're doing the walk around the airplane. You're also getting up at 1 o'clock in the morning. You may be working until 1, 2, 3 in the afternoon. You may work an 18-hour day. Or more. Yeah. So those are the kind of things that can really put a strain on your body. That's for sure. The other part of this too, besides and there's burnout. By the way, Everybody's susceptible to that. I was susceptible to this, and I like my job. So what do I do to avoid that burnout? I change things. So what I do is, and my friends make fun of me, I change bases a lot. I'll go to a different airplane, although I really like the plane I'm on. I'm on the A320, 321. And then the other thing I'll do is maybe try something new, a different type of flying, because every base has unique type of flying. So I'll go over and, maybe next year I'll fly to Europe. And then the year after that, I'll start doing the Caribbean, focus on the West Coast, whatever it may be. That's how I try to get that burnout out of the way there. The other thing you can do too is work less. Another way to get around that burnout, as long as you can manage that. And that goes into the other part of one of the cons is you really have to challenge and manage your personal life and have that work-life balance, especially with these irregular schedules that we have and the travel, right? So normal jobs, people talk about Monday through Friday. This is actually a Sunday right now. I don't know what day it is. As a matter of fact, I bought one of these Apple Watches that has the day on there because we don't think about the day of the week, really. We think about this is day 1 of 5 or 1 of 4. I'm on day 1. I'm on day 2. I'm on day 3. You could start on Wednesday. You could start on Friday. You could start on Sunday. So it's really something to wrap your head around. Though one of the things I can compare it to is somebody that works, say, in a hospital. It has shift work and, things that run 24 hours, medical care, that runs 24 hours, especially people that work like as nurses and things like that. Those are the kind of things that you actually have to manage, that work-life balance. Because say you get home and you land at 4 a.m, you drive home, it's 5 a.m., kids start getting up and they want to go out and play. Or say it's a weekend and you get home, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. You just flew all night long. And now your friends want to go out. Your kids want to go out and have fun. And you're toast. You want to take a nap. So you have to figure that out. You have to communicate with your family. Hey, listen, dad's got to take a nap. Mom's got to take a nap, whatever it may be. So actually trying to manage that personal life can be a little more challenging. For some of you that are in those industries, you understand what I'm talking about, that it can be very stressful. And, some of those, there's health risks, right, with travel, jet lag, sleep deprivation, exposure to radiation, of course. That's one thing, too. Another reason we don't go through some of those, machines at the airport all the time because you're exposed to some radiation, exposed to diseases. As a matter of fact, I appreciate everybody and the nice words that you said because I've been sick, actually, for a while. I wound up going on a trip, and I got the flu, and it really laid me up for a week, and I usually don't get that sick. So, yeah, you can go out, and I get it. You can get sick anywhere. But that is something you get exposed to when you're on the road. So that's one of the things that you have to really think about. So let's talk, there's some of the cons, right? Let's talk about some of the pros and beyond the paycheck, right? There's a lot of really cool things about being an airline captain we're talking about, right? So some of the unique things, and some of these things also are true of any crew that's flying, are travel opportunities. You can explore new destinations and explore all these different cultures while you're getting paid. And also on your days off, if you want to go out and check out those places again, just go there on your day off. Go check out these places. Say you want to go visit your relatives in Michigan. Jump on a plane, go to Michigan, and say hi to your relatives there. You want to go to an air show at Oshkosh. You jump in the plane, you take it there. It's your magic carpet now. This airline is your magic carpet. You can get anywhere in the world for free, pretty much for free. You may have to spend a little bit of money on certain things like, the taxes, etc. But it's practically free to get from point A to point B. So that's really cool. So getting to these new destinations, there's so many things, gosh, that I've seen that I never, ever would have seen. Mount Rushmore. I don't think I would have ever gone to Mount Rushmore if it wasn't for the airline and me getting stuck in there. And I actually went up to Mount Rushmore and checked it out. So that was really cool. The other thing that's really cool about this job is that sense of accomplishment and satisfaction that comes with actually flying this large aircraft and transporting the people behind us safely from point A to point B. Sometimes it gets a little routine, like some people say, I'm just flying the airplane. But just remember, you're doing something that's really important. You're connecting the world. And you're bringing people to places that they need to be. It could be a wedding, a funeral, visiting friends and family, that vacation they've wanted to take for all their life, to their business meetings. You are actually transporting these people from point A to point B safely, and they entrust you. and they entrust their lives in your flying abilities. And that's something you have to realize. And that's also a nice sense of accomplishment. So whenever you think about anything in an airplane that you're doing, think about the passengers behind you. And if you ever think of taking a risk, right, there's we do that all the time. We actually evaluate all the risks in what we do flying, whether going through weather, etc. Think about the people behind you, and think about getting to point B, safely. And that's really, really important. That's something that's really cool. By the way, I will interject that I love going, I'm based in Orlando, getting on the airplane. There's tons of kids. They're either going to Disney or going home from Disney or whatever vacation, or if I'm going to the Caribbean. It's so much fun. It's almost like selling ice cream, right? These people are so excited to go to where they're going. And I get it. There's some people that are going places they don't want to go. But in general, it's really cool to see the smiles on their faces, especially when they come up and they want to see the flight deck, and they're looking around at all the switches and all the lights and things like that. And it's so much fun. It kind of reminds me of, when I was a kid, and the amazement and what was in front of me in that cockpit, and being able to say to myself, wow, this is really, really cool. Someday maybe I'll do this, and look what I'm doing. The other neat thing about this industry too is there's this camaraderie amongst pilots, and there's a bit of a sense of community amongst pilots, which is pretty cool. I mean, that can be good and bad, right? Because sometimes the conversation, it devolves into pay and benefits and things like that. But in general, it's really neat to have that camaraderie amongst the pilots. So hopefully this has been helpful. The pros and cons. This is an overview of maybe is airline captain pay worth the stress of getting there, of being there? I think so. And if you have a healthy ability to deal with stress, and there's many books out there and things out there that you can look at, I think you'll do really well in this industry. If you can prioritize your life, I think you'll do well. And don't forget that if you're just getting started, there's many opportunities out there to actually pay for your training, either through the scholarships guide that we have. Of course, go to aviationcareerspodcast.com/free. Get your scholarships guide for free through our friends at Stratus Financial. Or if you're trying to stay motivated and trying to figure out how to move forward, we, of course, have that coaching, aviationcareerspodcast.com/coaching. We do individual coaching and interview prep, but we also have this mentorship program. It's only $20 a month, and we all get together, and I usually do a industry update. We celebrate people's successes, and then I include that pilot interview course in there. So every so often we do what's called a pilot interview course. But the most important thing that we do there, and what I like to see you do, no matter what it is, if you're just considering this as a career, or if you're trying to think about moving up to captain, you're already flying for an airline, the most important thing is evaluate where you are, but don't just sit there and not do anything. Make sure you take action. After you're done with this podcast or this video, if you're listening to it or watching it online, is just sit down, write down some of the at least 3 things, maybe 5, as to why you would want to become a captain. And if you're somebody who already is a captain, send me an email, feedback at aviationcareerspodcast.com, and give me ideas as to why you like being captain that I may not have mentioned here. But make sure that you take one step every day to move forward in your career and in your life. And no matter what you do and where you're going, you'll get there quicker than you think. We'll talk to you next episode. Safe flying out there.